Obamacare fail. He said it a few times today. What's your reaction?
Well, if that's just heartless, we're talking about real people here, literally tens of millions of people. One of the things the Affordable Care Act did was provide better quality insurance for over 150 million Americans who get their insurance through their employer, and provide access to health care for the first time for tens of millions of Americans in addition. To simply throw his hands up and say, I'm not responsible, I have nothing to do with this, we'll simply let the insurance markets fail and then begin to work towards some sort of replacement plan, that's just callous.
Here's what else the president said about Democrats today. Listen.
It would be nice to have Democrat support, but really they're obstructionists. They have no ideas. They have no thought process. All they want to do is obstruct government and obstruct, period. And in this case, think of it. So many good things, we didn't get one vote, and their plan has failed. And by the way, Obamacare isn't failing. It's failed. It's gone.
All right, so he says you and the Democrats, you're obstructionists.
Well, the bill that they were trying to move forward in the Republican-controlled Senate would have cut more than $700 billion out of Medicaid over the next decade. That's one of the reasons that they weren't able to get 50 Republican votes to support it. Wolf, I'll remind you that for the last 7 years, Republicans have run on the idea that they would repeal the Affordable Care Act and replace it with something better as soon as they had the chance. What we've seen now is that they haven't done any of their homework to develop a better health care plan for America. I'm hopeful that now that this really has failed, that Republicans and Democrats in the Senate can work together to find ways to begin to deliver on the idea that we can have lower cost, higher quality, affordable health care for all Americans.
So what will it take for that bipartisan cooperation to start?
First, it's going to take Republicans saying, okay, we're going to follow a regular process. We're going to have hearings in front of the relevant committees. We're going to listen to the people who provide health care across the country. Remember, the doctors, the nurses, the senior centers, the nursing homes, all those organizations and the AARP were all opposed to the Republican bill. They weren't part of the process. So we need to have an open process, and then we need to make a few important fixes, and the Trump administration needs to stop trying to sabotage the Affordable Care Act. Ever since they came in, they've been throwing a wrench into the insurance markets that the Affordable Care Act has set up.
Let's move on to some other issues. You're on the Foreign Relations Committee. The White House now has confirmed that there was a second meeting that the president had with Vladimir Putin in Hamburg at the G20, a previously undisclosed second conversation they had on July 7th. They had the big meeting, the 2-hour and 15-minute bilateral meeting. But now at dinner, a couples-only dinner event, toward the end, the president did speak with Putin at the dinner. No staff or cabinet were at the dinner at all for any of the countries. Did you know about this second conversation that the president had with Putin?
I just heard about it this morning from a source that suggested not only did he get up and go all the way over the dinner to sit down and talk to Putin, but he did so for a very long period of time, didn't do so with other heads of state, and didn't bring an American translator. He relied on Putin's translator for the understanding of what the conversation was. A basic failure in terms of national security protocol, so that there was someone who could help him understand from an American perspective what was being said.
But was it just, sort of social chit-chat, or was there a substantive conversation based on what you know?
How would we know? That's exactly the point, is that he was publicly seen by our allies, by critical heads of state with whom we're trying to sustain our alliances, to snub them and take the time to invest a great deal of individual one-on-one time with Vladimir Putin, relying on his translator.
Well,
if accurate, that description would be very concerning. Why that makes a difference
if the translator, the official Russian government translator, or a U.S. government translator?
Well, first, just the nuances of the words in translation might be misunderstood. And second, there's only one person who really knows exactly what was said in the course of that conversation now, and it's the Russian translator.
Well, would the president then go back to his staff and report on this second conversation, and there would be some notes based on his recollection? And if they do exist, would they share that with the Foreign Relations Committee?
He should, and not likely. One of our challenges, as you know, has been very senior members of this administration forgetting to report appropriately, or to disclose, or to share with leaders either in the executive branch or the legislative branch meetings that they've had with senior Russians. That's why Mike Flynn was fired as National Security Advisor. That's why Attorney General Jeff Sessions has had to recuse himself from important matters related to the 2016 election. And in some ways, one would argue that's why FBI Director Comey was fired by the president, is this whole pattern of different meetings and events that were not appropriately reported and are now under investigation.
What's your conclusion as far as the president's attitude toward the Russians, Putin particularly?
Well, going back to the campaign, now President Trump, as candidate Trump, had a disturbing practice of praising Vladimir Putin, of embracing him and saying he was a smart man and a great man and a good leader, and denigrating or marginalizing his relationship with our key Democratic allies, for example, Angela Merkel, Chancellor of Germany. So I see him as being too close, too friendly with Vladimir Putin, and it's one of the reasons that lots of members of Congress have had questions about whether the smoke here, the billowing questions about all these different unreported meetings with senior Russians, actually is concealing some fire.
So what I don't understand, if there is a second conversation at the end of a couples-only dinner at the G20, and he has this conversation with Putin, why wouldn't the White House disclose that? Why wouldn't they make that information available to the American people?
Well, Wolf, it could be entirely innocent. This could just be the sloppiness of a new administration that doesn't see the significance or relevance of a long, direct, one-on-one conversation between our president and Vladimir Putin. But now, more than 6 months into it, with an active investigation where questions about ties between Trump and Putin are on the news every single night, it's hard to see this as anything other than a significant misstep or an attempt at concealment. Yeah,
we're showing our viewers video of that dinner. And Melania Trump was actually seated at the dinner next to Putin. I assume they had a pretty good conversation as well. I don't know if she speaks much Russian. She is from Eastern Europe originally. Maybe she speaks a little bit, but you can see a translator there, I think, in between, helping with the translation as well. All right, I want you to stand by. There are other new developments, Senator Coons, that are coming into the Situation Room. There's much more we need to discuss right after this.
It's the Kia Summer SUV Clearance Event from the brand ranked #1 in initial quality by J.D. Power 2 years in a row. We're celebrating with deals on J.D. Power award-winning SUVs like the capable Sorento, the adventurous Turbo Soul, and the Nero, the most fuel-efficient crossover. Plus, the versatile Sportage, named a KBB.com Best Buy. Hurry in for great offers on quality SUVs at the Kia Summer SUV Clearance Event. And now, get up to $4,000 cash back on a new 2017 Sorento.
Dog leg left, watch the trap on the right, stay loose. That's why I need Total Body Stretch.
Introducing new Total Body Stretch from Massage Envy for flexibility, mobility, and performance. Book today.
It's just a burst pipe. I can fix it.
No.
With Claim Rate Guard, your rates won't go up just because of a claim.
I totally could have.
No.
Switching to Allstate is worth it.
The day after chemo might mean a trip back to the doctor's office, just for a shot. But why go back there when you can stay home with Neulasta Onpro?
Strong chemo can put you at risk of serious infection, which could lead to hospitalizations. In a key study, Neulasta reduced the risk of infection from 17% to 1%, a 94% decrease. Applied the day of chemo, Neulasta Onpro is designed to deliver Neulasta the next day, so you can stay home. Neulasta is for certain cancer patients receiving strong chemotherapy. Do not take Neulasta if you're allergic to Neulasta or Neupogen, filgrastim. Ruptured spleen, sometimes fatal, as well as serious lung problems, allergic reactions, kidney injuries, and capillary leak syndrome have occurred. Report abdominal or shoulder tip pain, trouble breathing, or allergic reactions to your doctor right away. In patients with sickle cell disorders, serious, sometimes fatal crises can occur. The most common side effect is bone and muscle ache.
So why go back there? If you'd rather be home, ask your doctor about Neulasta Onpro.
When you schedule with Safe Flight Auto Glass, you get a text when we're on our way. You can see exactly when we'll arrive. I'm Micah with Safe Flight.
Thanks for coming. It's right over here.
Giving you a few more minutes for what matters most. Take care.
Safe Flight Repair, Safe Flight Replace.
Casper makes one perfect mattress. Supportive and comfortable. Premium foam layers. Breathable for airflow. Perfect rebound, plus perfect lift. Pick your size. You get 100 nights to test it out. Test the layers. Be a layer. Casper.
My name's Ron, and I lost 80 pounds on Nutrisystem.
Men, pay attention. Have a big belly? Want to raise your testosterone? Like to have more energy and improve your lean muscle mass? Then lose weight with Nutrisystem for men.
I'm Essex, and I lost 43 pounds on Nutrisystem.
Lose 15 pounds and 7 inches overall in your first month. Lose weight fast. Money back guarantee. Shrink the belly. Raise testosterone. Higher testosterone, more drive. So come on, put down the chips. Get on the phone and get with the program today. We'll rush you 1 week of all-new Nutri-Crush bars to crush cravings, free. And 1 week of protein-packed turbo shakes to bust that gut, free.
Pizza, pasta, burgers, man food.
At 54, I have more energy, more focus, more stamina.
Lose weight and burn body fat. Call or go online in the next 2 minutes, and we'll even throw in FedEx shipping, free. Lose 15 pounds and 7 inches overall in your first month.
Do it. Do it now. Don't wait.
Go online or call 888-395-SIZE right now and get Nutrisystem for Men with bars and shakes free.
At Panera, a salad is so much more than one thing. More than one flavor or texture or color. A good, clean salad is so much more than green. And with Panera Catering, more for your event. Panera, food as it should be.
With hotels getting so expensive, how do you find great deals anymore? Well, Priceline found a way with Express Deal Hotels. We work with top hotels to fill their unsold rooms, saving you up to 60%. Just tap and go. Check them out now at Priceline.
Closed captioning brought to you by non-prescription IB Guard for irritable bowel syndrome.
My abdominal pain and bloating made daily life a guessing game. Will I have pain and bloating today? My doctor recommended IB Guard to manage my IBS. Take control. Ask your doctor about non-prescription IB Guard.
We're back with Senator Chris Coons. He's a Democrat on the Judiciary and Foreign Relations Committee. Senator, I need you to stand by. We have some breaking news on President Trump's contacts with Vladimir Putin. We're also getting new information about the controversial Russia meeting over at Trump Tower in New York last year. I want to go to our justice correspondent, Jessica Schneider. Jessica, what are you learning?
Well, Wolf, the White House has just disclosed today that President Trump actually had a second conversation with Russian President Vladimir Putin at the end of the G20 dinner. That was back on July 7th, but the disclosure just coming from the White House today. Now, that meeting came the same day as the 2-hour face-to-face between the world leaders. The White House now not giving many details except to say the talk took place in the main dining room and no staff or cabinet members were present. Well, this revelation coming on the same day, we finally know the name of that eighth person in the room at Trump Tower for that June 2016 meeting. His name is Ike Kavaladze, and he works for the Russian oligarch who requested that meeting be arranged. And it turns out Kavaladze appears to have had interactions with the Trump family in the past. Ike Kavaladze appears to be just steps away from Donald Trump in this exclusive video from 2013, taken in Las Vegas on the eve of the Miss USA pageant. Kavaladze is in the light suit jacket, standing behind Russian pop star Emin Agalarov. Kavaladze's attorney now confirms to CNN that Kavaladze was at Trump Tower on June 9, 2016, the 8th person inside the meeting with Donald Trump Jr., Trump campaign chair Paul Manafort, and now White House senior advisor and Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner. Music publicist Rob Goldstone arranged the meeting at the request of the Agalarovs and sat in on it. Russian lawyer Natalia Veselnitskaya was there, along with Russian-American lobbyist Rinat Akhmetchin, a translator named Anatoly Samachornov, and now it's been revealed Ike Kavaladze. Kavaladze is a naturalized American citizen who joined the Agalarov real estate development business in 2004. But in 2000, he was linked to U.S. bank accounts that came under congressional investigation in a possible billion-dollar money laundering scheme tied to Russian brokers. At the time, he claimed no wrongdoing and was never charged with a crime. He is senior vice president at Crocus Group, according to his LinkedIn page. The company is run by Azerbaijani Russian oligarch Aras Agalarov, the father of musician Emin, who featured Donald Trump in a 2013 music video.
You're fired.
The Agalarovs seem to play a key role in arranging the June 2016 meeting, with publicist Rob Goldstone writing in a June 3, 2016 email. This is obviously very high level and sensitive information, but is part of Russia and its government support for Mr. Trump, helped along by Aras and Emin. Kavaladze's lawyer insists he's never had any engagement with the Russian government in any capacity. Kavaladze attended the meeting under the impression that he would be Russian lawyer Natalia Veselnitskaya's translator because she didn't speak English, according to his attorney. But then Kavaladze realized Veselnitskaya had her own translator. Now, special counsel Robert Mueller's investigators want to talk to Kavaladze as part of his ongoing probe into Russian interference with the U.S. election. The White House is watching all of this unfold. Staffers there are concerned Kushner's involvement in the June 2016 meeting may make it difficult for Kushner to receive final security clearance. But a source close to Kushner says he has now had 2 interviews with the FBI about his security clearance, and his legal team sees no reason it would be denied since he has updated all of his forms to include this June 2016 meeting. Kushner attorney Jamie Gorelick saying Mr. Kushner has tried to be fully transparent and responsive in the background investigations process. We have heard no expression of concern from the FBI, and I think we would know if there were such concerns at this time. Now, the attorney for Ike Cavaladze, the eighth man we now know was in the room, tells CNN that Cavaladze will cooperate with special counsel Robert Mueller, but has not yet been interviewed. The attorney also represents the Aguilar father and son and tells us Mueller's investigators have not reached out to either of them yet. Wolf, the special counsel's office has declined to comment on this story. Wolf.
All right, Jessica, thanks very much. Jessica Schneider reporting. Also tonight, top Senate investigators are speaking out about new developments in the Russia probe. Let's go to our senior congressional reporter, Manu Raju, up on Capitol Hill. Manu, what are you hearing?
Well, Wolf, both Republicans and Democrats in the Senate on the key committees are pushing to learn more about that meeting that occurred in Trump Tower, with the top Democrat in the committee emerging from a closed-door meeting that occurred earlier today to say who else was in the meeting, wondering if there were more than 8 people who were actually meeting with Donald Trump Jr., Paul Manafort, and Jared Kushner. Mark Warner raised some serious concerns about this 8th individual earlier today. Take a listen.
It's very disturbing to me that it's taken us this long for this kind of information to come out. So this individual who's at least had a colorful past, if not a potentially criminal, it is very strange to me that this meeting that was supposed to be originally was related as 3 or 4 people about Russian adoptions. I doubt if this individual who's had a history of setting up thousands of fake accounts in Delaware was really there to talk about Russian adoptions. So what we see here is, again, senior levels of the Trump administration and now the Trump family not coming clean with information. And this has been a week before we've got this information.
Now, Wolf, earlier in the day, I got a chance to catch up with the Republican chairman of that committee, Richard Burr, who made his most explicit comments to date about that Trump Tower meeting, previously declining to really go into details, but today saying that he does want to learn more information about it, even raising the specter of public testimony of some of the individuals involved in that meeting. Here's how he responded.
Do you also feel like you understand everything about what happened in that Trump Tower meeting at this point?
No, absolutely not. I think that there's a lot to learn from that, and we've reached out to the appropriate people and asked them to provide information for us and to testify possibly publicly, but it's too early in that to draw any conclusions. But our job is to put the facts on the table and follow wherever it goes.
You want Don Jr. public? Do you want that Don Jr.
I think you've got to ask Don Jr. to come in, whether that's public or whether it's private, or how you proceed and at what pace. Still yet to be determined by information that we learn between now and the time we make that request.
And Wolf, they're not the only committee that's actually moving forward to look into this Trump Tower meeting. The Senate Judiciary Committee also wants to talk to both Donald Trump Jr. and Paul Manafort. Senator Dianne Feinstein, the top Democrat on that committee, telling me earlier today that they have actually discussed this with Bob Mueller, the special counsel's office, who has essentially given them a green light to seek public testimony for both Paul Manafort and Donald Trump Jr. when they want to. So the question, Wolf, is will those two men agree to come before the committee? And if they don't, will they face subpoenas? Because Senator Chuck Grassley, the Republican chairman of the committee, has threatened subpoenas if they do not agree. And the third individual who Bob Mueller also cleared, Glenn Simpson, who actually is in charge of that research firm Fusion GPS. Bob Mueller saying that that committee can also look and talk to him in a public session. So look for all this to take place in the matter of the coming weeks or days here.
Yeah, it looks like there's pretty good cooperation between the special counsel, Robert Mueller, and the Senate. All right, thanks very much. Manu Raju up on Capitol Hill. I want to go back to Senator Chris Coons. What do you make of this eighth person, this mystery person, as he's been described, all of a sudden also showing up at that meeting?
Well, Wolf, it's really striking that Donald Trump Jr., the president's son, his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, and his campaign manager, Paul Manafort, had what was initially presented as just a brief meeting about Russian adoptions. And as the days have gone by, we hear about a fourth person, fifth person, sixth person, seventh person, now eighth person. And it raises questions for me about whether any of the representations that we've gotten publicly about went on at that meeting meeting, its purpose, and its outcome are fully truthful or have fully disclosed what was going on.
Your colleague, Dianne Feinstein, the ranking Democrat on the Judiciary Committee, she says that Mueller, the special counsel, has given the all clear to the committee to go ahead and question Donald Trump Jr. and Paul Manafort, the campaign chairman at the time. Do you know when that will take place?
Well, the schedule in the Senate has been uncertain because of the challenges of the health care vote and its timing. We've got several weeks ahead that we're going to be in session, that we don't currently have things scheduled. My hope would be that Donald Trump Jr. and Paul Manafort will appear in front of the Judiciary Committee in open session soon. It might be this month. It might not be until September.
What about Jared Kushner?
I think Jared Kushner should testify as well. Fortunately, we're seeing close cooperation between the Intelligence Committee, the Judiciary Committee, and Special Counsel Mueller. It's important that they not get crosswise and that Special Counsel Mueller continue to have the resources and the independence to pursue this investigation wherever it leads.
Let's talk quickly about the sanctions bill. It was passed the Senate, the anti-Russian sanctions bill. There was an Iran amendment involving additional sanctions against Iran. Passed the Senate, first time 98-2, second time 97-2, but it's sort of languishing in the House of Representatives right now. Why?
It's taking much longer than it should. And there's a debate about exactly who's holding it up and why. There are some reports that there are senior members of the Republican leadership in the House that are working with the administration to water down one provision to strengthen the executive's ability to waive Russia sanctions. Others say it was a misunderstanding about jurisdiction between the House and Senate. Either way, the House should take it up and pass it promptly and send it to the White House for passage. There is a possibility they will also add North Korea sanctions to it.
That's what Kevin McCarthy, the majority leader in the House, wants. Are you with them on that?
I think stronger sanctions against North Korea make sense in the current environment. As long as we've got the floor time for it to come right back to the Senate and for us to pass it and the president to sign it, I think that's an acceptable path. But we have to get this done and done soon.
Senator Coons, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you both.
Chris Coons of Delaware. There's much more coming up here in the Situation Room, including more on the president's role in the collapse of the Republican health care bill and his refusal to take responsibility for it. And will the president's son actually give public testimony about that?